Hi, everybody. Welcome to our How to Do Research and Get Published webinar. Today's topic will be on beyond publication, how to increase citations and academic reach. But before we get started in today's topic, I want to introduce you first to our team. Jessica Offenberger is a publishing editor on the STM Journal's editorial team. She manages a range of science and medicine journals, working with editors and societies to develop new strategies and problem solve. She strives to create and develop resources to help early career researchers better understand the publishing process and to publish their research. Jessica has a background in project management, marketing, business development, and self-publishing. Next, Katie Thompson has nearly 20 years of experience working in marketing within academic publishing, with a focus on open access journals publishing. Currently serving as the strategy lead for the product and insights team at Sage. She plays a key role in shaping marketing strategies across diverse subjects and global regions. Her expertise lies in driving innovative approaches to support scholarly communication and enhance visibility for research. Next, Sylvia Gutierrez is the Senior Program Officer for Libraries at the Wikimedia Foundation, where she supports global library partnerships, drawing on her background as a Wikimedian, research librarian, and computational humanist. Previously, she was a digital humanities academic, leading Wikimedia campaigns focused on social movements, linguistic diversity, and gender equity. She is a PhD student at the University of Leipzig, researching Wikipedia references with AI and data visualization. And last, my name is Sean Scarsbrick, a marketing manager on the community engagement team at Sage, and my primary role is to support authors and reviewers as they move through the publishing process. Throughout today's call, please send us your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We'll reserve time to make sure that we get to as many questions as we can, and any questions we don't address live, we will follow up in a blog post. Today's talk will focus heavily on what happens after you've published, what you could do to promote your article, and how you can increase the reach. But we have a plethora of other opportunities to learn about other stages of the publishing process, from the very beginning of securing funding, conducting research, all the way through the end of finding a journal and submitting. So please do look at our recordings of other webinars and also register for some that are upcoming. And with that, I'm happy to pass it over to Jessica.
Thank you, Sean, for that wonderful introduction, and we're really excited to have you all here today. It takes a lot of work to get research that is publishable, but your work isn't over after you've been told your paper is published. So just like Sean outlined in that graph to show you the entire research process, it continues even after your paper has been published. Your research and the journal will be promoted through the marketing done at a publisher like Sage, but that is only one piece of the puzzle. It's integral that you, as the author, also promote your content. Many of you are here probably today to specifically learn how to increase your citations. Quantitative metrics are important in the evaluation of scholarly research as universities, governments, and funding bodies try to find ways to make their hiring, funding, um, and investment decisions based on measurable criteria. This has had a significant effect on journals publishing, with the well-known impact factor functioning as ready-made, albeit controversial, indicator of the quality and significance of the piece published. So at Sage, though, we want to help you increase your article citations without gaming the system and focusing only on the short-sighted strategies that can only compromise perceived quality. So today, we'll dive into a variety of initiatives that you can undertake as an author to help increase citations and expand your academic reach. So to start with some basics, let's focus on the two metrics that we're talking about right now. Downloads and citations are two of the most well-known article level metrics available. Download and view counts track how often an article is accessed or downloaded. These numbers reflect visibility and interest in the research, especially for open access publications. However, they do not necessarily correlate with academic impact, as high downloads do not guarantee citations. A citation count refers to the number of times a particular research article, book, or other scholarly work has been cited by an academic publication or other academic publications. It serves as a key indicator of a work's academic influence and impact within a specific field. The more citations an article receives, the more it is considered to have contributed to ongoing research discussions. Citations are tracked through various academic databases and indexing services, which compile and analyze references from published works. So, some of the main and most widely used citation tracking platforms include Web of Science. This tracks citations from high impact journals offering robust citation analysis tools. You have Scopus, which is a large citation database that includes journal articles, conference papers, and books, which also provides citation counts for individual publications. Google Scholar is a freely accessible search engine that tracks citations across a broad range of sources, including preprints, theses, and institutional repositories. Um, Publishers like Sage register digital object identifiers or DOIs for articles, allowing for accurate citation tracking across different platforms. This is typically handled via Crossref. And then some disciplines use specialized databases like Archive for physics that track citations within their field. So these are institutional repositories and subject-specific databases. Each of these platforms use indexing algorithms to detect citations by scanning references within published papers, books, and reports. However, citation counts can vary across databases due to differences in coverage, indexing speed, and source inclusion criteria. If you look at the screen here, Sage makes sure the download and citation metrics are available on every individual article page on our website. And then you also have um, this for a journal level as well. So, why should you promote your research? We all know it's important, but why? So first and foremost, it expands your article's reach. As a publisher, so like Sage, we ensure that your article is accessible and discoverable. But an extra push from you as the author really goes a long way. Promoting your research means you'll reach an engaged audience. You'll likely have great contacts in your immediate network who will be interested in what you have to share. They will want to support your research and will be interested in your research for their own work. This direct contact is unfortunately not available to publishers or journal editors, so we encourage people, the authors, to reach uh, out to their own networks and make sure that it's discoverable. So there's also a high chance that if you mention this to a colleague or someone in your network, hey, check out my article. You should read it. That they will. They likely will. You also will have access to audiences that are different from who Sage and the journal will have in their own networks. So this is important that you reach out to them. This can include contacts from your institution who may not be in your exact subject area, but who still might be interested in your work. And then lastly, you can impact policy. So to dive into some practical tips uh, to maximize your research and visibility, one of the first keys to success starts before your article is actually published. Before you even get started, you'll want to think about what is your goal? Are you publishing original research? Is it new or novel? Is it a hot topic? Um, Comprehensive review articles are likely to attract a high number of readers and citations. New and novel research that is considered a hot topic in the field will often be well cited as well. And you can look for journals that are interested in special issues or special collections on these topics. If you think long and hard about your research goals, your hypothesis, and what it contributes to your field, that will set you up for success post publication. Once your research is actually complete and you're ready to submit, you'll want to choose the right journal for your work. We have an entire webinar dedicated to this topic specifically. So before submitting your work, evaluate all of the different journal criteria that you might be thinking about, including the journal's impact factor, site score, SJR, and other metrics to ensure it aligns with your research goals. Consider whether it has a strong readership in your field. You can also look at various indexes. Sometimes funders or institutions have requirements to which journals you submit. Um, when selecting a journal for publication or evaluating its reach and credibility, subject-specific databases offer in-depth and field-specific visibility. Unrestricted databases offer broader exposure and citation tracking across disciplines. For instance, being indexed in PubMed is a strong indicator of scientific rigor in biomedical fields, while inclusion of Web of Science or Scopus enhances a journal's visibility across disciplines and supports citation-based metrics. So you'll want to make sure that your article aligns with the journal readership and all of the different funder institution requirements so that it's reaching the right audience and therefore the people who are ultimately reading your work who really make a difference. You'll also want to engage in open science. Sharing preprints, data sets, and code can increase the visibility and credibility of your work. You've heard us say this before in many of our webinars, but use persistent identifiers. So, for instance, registered for an ORCID ID to ensure your publications are correctly attributed to you, and this can help improve your citation tracking and overall research profile, building that author brand. We recommend you monitor your metrics and help keep track of citation counts, alt metrics, alternative metrics, and downloads using tools like Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science. And understanding how your work is being received can help refine your research dissemination strategy. With one caveat and caution, don't rely solely on one metric. Consider a combination of journal level, article level, and alternative metrics to get a complete picture of your research influence. So now I'll pass it over to Katie to dive into more depth about how to increase citations and your overall reach.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So as soon as your research is published, you're going to want to be ready to talk about it with your research community. And to help you prepare for this, you can create an elevator pitch that summarizes your main arguments and your key points. It might feel quite daunting at first, but first of all, you have to think about the most important points and how they can be easily understood by your audience. And we'd recommend writing it down to organize your thoughts, but you can also practice saying it out loud with a script so that it becomes much more natural. And you should also tailor your tone for your audience, so avoid technical talk for those that are outside your subject area. And it's good to remain conversational so that you're keeping people engaged. And if you speak more than one language, you can use this to your advantage and communicate in the language that best suits your audience. And then we're looking here at, that's it, thanks, Sean, about why you might want to write for a wider audience. So if you do rewrite your research for a wider audience, it helps you in your promotional efforts. And this can be done by thinking about how your research might explain a problem, how it might offer a solution, or how it might offer an insight into a topical issue. It can also help to expand your network and make new connections in your research. So just like creating an elevator pitch is important, this can help you disseminate your research to other disciplines and lay persons who may not otherwise access it, and which can help in turn increase citations and your overall reach. I think there's a few more little bullet points just to go there. That's it. That's great. If we move on to the next slide. So we're going to talk about three different approaches today. So passive promotion requires a little bit of effort, but active promotion takes a little bit more effort. So when we talk about brand building, we're suggesting that you as a researcher can develop your personal brand to establish expertise and position yourself as an expert within your area. And this was a topic in a different Sage webinar, so we would recommend that you revisit that for further information as well. So passive promotion is all about the lighter touch activities that you can undertake as an author, but they can still have significant benefits. So this can be things like sharing your article link. It's quite a quick and easy way to get more eyes on your content. You can share it within your institution. Maybe there are university or department newsletters that you can share it in. You can update your faculty webpage and include the link there. Make sure that your manager or supervisor know about it. You can also rely on your library to help spread the word, so they can include it in their appropriate newsletters. And you can work with them to ensure that the readers from your institution will be able to access the content as well. And of course, you can share it in places like listservs, you can add it to your email signature, and if appropriate, you can add to your course reading list as well. And you should always update your publication history on LinkedIn, Academia, ResearchGate, and your institutional homepage. And these are really quick and easy ways that you can keep your CV updated as well. And also, we're going to talk about this a bit more, but you can take an active role on social media. So if you see your journal, your society, or your publisher posting about your article or your research, then you can like, you can comment, and you can reshare that post. And similarly, you can engage with any posts from your institution, from your co-authors, from your colleagues about your work as well. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about active promotion. So this requires a little bit more active engagement from you as an author. And we're going to talk about these 5 areas. So each one requires work from you, but it could result in quite a lot of positive attention and engagement with your research. So the first is about social media. So there are many different social channels that you can choose from. And you might decide to be active in multiple places, but you should explore the channels to find where the bigger, more engaged communities are in your area of research and look to develop a consistent presence on these. So you might be posting to X or Facebook, and if so, you should be making your messages personal. You can consider using images or videos as they tend to be more engaging. You can make sure to link to your content or other resources that support your content, and generally let your community know about your success in publishing your article, good feedback that you might have had, maybe media attention that you might receive. You can be a little bit repetitive within reason, but it's often good to be active in kind of wider conversations in your area of research, as well as posting about your own research. You should get to know the hashtags that apply to your article and to your community and make sure that you're using them, which will make your engagement much more discoverable. And make sure that you're replying to responses and looking for other mentions of your article on these channels so that it's really starting to be that two-way conversation. And you should share your accomplishments and successes on social media. But we would say they're just, kind of temperate and remain humble, join your community, and you are really looking for it to be a two-way conversation. And then we've got a few points about kind of tutorials. They're sometimes known by different names on other social channels, but they're basically message chains that can be used by authors to write multiple messages relating to the same topic. They can be really good if you're tweeting about something that's quite complex and needs a few different messages to talk about this. And it's a really useful way to reshare the content of your research. When you're drafting one, think about what your main goal is. Is it to share the main argument or add more context to your main points? Or are you trying to develop your personal brand authority? Whatever it is that you choose, just be mindful at the onset and write your messages accordingly. And then there are additional social media channels. So we've just kind of touched on some of these here. We have things like LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. Be sure to include your article in your profile as you build your career, and it should be representative of your CV. So YouTube videos can be a really good way to spread news about your article. Some journals might create video abstracts with their authors. And if the journal that your article is published in doesn't do this, then you can create your own to help publicize your article and promote it via other social media channels. There are also other kind of ways of promoting, so infographics, videos, visual abstracts. They might work well for channels such as Instagram. But when working with Instagram, keep in mind that this platform doesn't support linking as easily as others. So Instagram links can be shared on your bio or in stories, but not in a post. And by default, stories remain visible for 24 hours, but then can remain accessible on your profile via the highlights for longer than that. And I'm going to pass you back over to Jessica to talk about conferences.
Thank you so much, Katie. As with social media, conferences are a crucial pillar of active promotion. You might be going to conferences in several different capacities, which is why I've broken this down into two different categories, attending conferences as a guest and attending as a speaker. One of the most important things you can do when attending a conference as a guest is identify the most suitable type of research and your objectives. Smaller society or practitioner-led conferences provide greater scope for interactions with editors. In comparison, larger discipline and society meetings can be beneficial for boosting the reputation of presenting researchers and may attract more high-profile keynote speakers. Both have their advantages. Once you have identified the conference type most suitable for you, it will provide a perfect place to network. This might involve meeting a journal's editor-in-chief to promote your research and discuss methodology, or you could be reaching out to other associate editors or editorial board members, or who might be able to pass on your contact information to the journal editor. The next one is fairly self-explanatory, but preparing your questions in advance will allow you to seamlessly introduce your research into discussion in a tactful way, making a positive impression on new contacts. So really think about that elevator pitch Katie was talking about. As an attendee, your initial focus may be to discuss your research with as many editors as possible, but speaking to your fellow researchers will widen your network and may open up new paths for collaboration, just increase your overall reach. Bringing personal business cards or QR codes which link to your website or publication will guarantee that your research is more easily accessible for journal staff. So that's a great thing to bring with you. And try to make sure that your social media accounts, if you have them, are up to date with your latest information, making it easy to find you. Meet the editor sessions are fairly common at a variety of conferences, providing an invaluable chance to learn more about the journal from the editors themselves and to ask any targeted questions you may have. There's also sometimes sessions that are hosted on how to get published within that journal or how to conduct peer review. Lastly, if you can't attend the conference in person, look for our resources online. Many events now record their sessions and publish them digitally so that you can try to get involved, even if you can't attend in person. Um, so then this will really allow you to stay connected. If you're going to attend as a speaker, uh, this is something that might be the right step in your career and the next logical step. So if you're attending as a presenter, when deciding whether to present your research at a conference, you'll want to consider how this aligns with your overall long-term career goals. While presenting is beneficial for your field, if you have ambitions of attending a conference as a keynote speaker, be sure to regularly attend conferences in your field and take opportunities to present your work. By networking and contributing research in your field, you'll enhance your visibility and chances of success of being invited as a keynote speaker later in your career. Cultivating a strong and engaged network of peers and a positive reputation as a skilled presenter will aid in your success. Conference sessions may take a variety of different forms. If you're leading a longer session or a workshop, meaningful participant engagement is crucial to ensuring the knowledge you impart is absorbed by your audience. Consider providing simple participant polls, short paired exercises, or using a case study to keep your session memorable. As well as session durations and formats, you may also want to consider whether your research is best presented alone or in a team. If you're a graduate student or an early career researcher, co-presenting will help you gain experience in presenting in multiple formats. As we've already talked about, rehearsing a concise summary of your research is a skill that will allow you to network efficiently and effectively at conference dinners or closing events. So if used in the lead-in to your session, an elevator pitch may also help you gain a larger audience. Given the global nature of academia, using your online presence and institution channels to promote The conference what you're speaking at is an excellent way of widening participation and attracting conference attendees to your talk. Make sure to include links to the conference and to your research for ease of access. So I already kind of mentioned this, but as with business cards, featuring a QR code linked to your research will ensure that your work is accessible, thus driving web usage and future citations. These are all things that uh, go into producing a high impact piece. So, as you can see, conferences provide an abundance of opportunities for self-promotion, enabling you to build your reputation as a researcher, broaden your audience, and open up new pathways to publication. I definitely recommend investigating any upcoming conferences in your field to see how you can get involved. If you're interested in writing a blog post, shifting gears a little bit, some options you have include creating your own blog or reaching out to industry blogs. Sage actively maintains the Sage Perspectives blog as a way to post content about articles, in addition to posts on trends in the publishing industry and other applicable topics. So whether you're writing for Sage or another blog focusing on your article, you'll want to keep the following topics in mind. Keep it topical, timely, and recent research will receive the best reaction and will be most likely to be accepted. Papers focusing on new or significant findings also tend to be the best fit for blogs. If you have a complex topic or something very niche, be sure to explain it in a way that the public or lay audience would be able to understand and appreciate. Be ready for someone to take a look at your blog and suggest any potential updates. Podcasting is also a great way to uh, promote your research. This offers lots of opportunities. But think critically about this one. Do you have enough relevant information and resourcing to start your own podcast? Or maybe you could be a great fit for a guest on an industry podcast. Consider if people outside of your subject area will be interested in your topic. Ensure that you can speak about it clearly without any technical jargon and potentially focus on the areas with the widest appeal. It's important to consider if you're a confident public speaker and what you can do to build up your confidence in case you might be feeling short on that. So practice your discussion before going live and communicate openly with the podcast host as appropriate. Some journals and societies have their own podcast channels too that you can join, which is another great outlet. Over to you, Katie.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about some additional promotional materials. So these can help expand the reach of your content to a non-academic audience with content that can be easily understood. A plain language summary is similar to an article abstract in that it summarizes your writing in a succinct snippet. But a plain language summary is unique in that it's written without any technical terms or discipline-specific jargon. So the intention of these is that anyone, whether it's in your discipline or totally outside of academia, can understand the overview of your research. Video abstracts and infographics provide a summary of key information and findings from an article abstract conveyed in a brief and graphic format. And the aim of these is to assist researchers in quickly finding the most relevant articles and allowing them to visually evaluate whether they'd like to pursue the article further and delve deeper into your research. So these resources are valuable both pre and post publication, and they can be submitted with your article and will undergo peer review. Post publication, they can be used for promotion, they can be easily shared on social media and listservs and with your colleagues. And if you're interested in creating these, we have more information on Sage Author Services, where subject area experts will work with you to create these for a paid fee. And just some other tips. So think about whether there's an engaged audience out there who might not be able to read your content in English. And if so, and if you're able to do so, you could consider writing about your content in a different language. Social media is global, so write about it in multiple languages where possible, or whatever language you would like. In addition, there are some blogs like The Conversation that have global offices and accept pitches in languages other than English. And similarly, you should reach your audience in whatever channel is most appropriate. So we've spoken today about social media, but if you're targeting a more niche audience, then provide information wherever they are most active. For example, don't focus on Twitter if your audience only use Facebook, but instead devote your time to where it's most important. And then press releases, they're a great way to share information about your research. So you can work on one with your institution, or you could share it somewhere on social media or a personal website. And this is content that you can reshare across multiple channels. And then we would encourage you to become a member of a professional organisation or organisations that are related to your field, and to participate in workshops and training sessions and in-person networking. And then create a professional profile on online academic networking platforms as well. So you can share your research, collaborate with other researchers, and engage with the academic community in general. And make sure you're keeping your ORCID up to date and getting involved on other sites, including social media, as we've discussed today. And we would gently remind you that receiving citations and downloads can take a bit of time. So some research might happen to be cited immediately, while other times it can take months, if not years. We would say be persistent and patient in your efforts and celebrate the small achievements that you have along the way. And remember that building a career in academia and research is a gradual process, and each step is going to contribute to your overall development. So stay committed to producing high quality research and engaging with the scholarly community. And now I'm going to pass you back to Jessica, who's just going to say a few words about accessing research.
Thank you. Before I pass it over to Sylvia, as you're promoting your research, you may encounter researchers who ask how they can get access to your full research articles. So the tips I'm about to talk through can be applied if you're looking to get access to others' research as well as you're undergoing your own research literature review. So to start us out, we have a few different access options. So for those of you that are part of an institution, you can use your institutional access. Use library portals and advanced search filters. A lot of libraries subscribe directly to journals, either individually or through collections or through other databases like ProQuest and EBSCO. So you might have access already through your institution. There are also browser plugins that we recommend, including Lean Library and Google Casa for off-campus access. You can also request an interlibrary loan. For instance, you might come across a piece of research, you can request it through your librarian, and they might be able to get it through another institution, if not your own. If you're part of a professional organization or a society, check if your association provides journal access. Many societies have journals that is their official journal, and sometimes they will affiliate with other journals to provide access for their members. Moving on to some other access options. So if you'll notice on the Sage Journals website, for instance, there's a share button. So on your particular article, you can click the share button, and anyone that you share that link with will have 30 to 90 days free EPUB access, free read-only access to that article. And you could ask the same if you're looking for an article, you could contact the corresponding author and have them share access with you. Other publishers have other similar features. You can also, like I just said, contact the corresponding author to see if they'll be able to share that research with you. You can check repositories such as institutional repositories, various indexes like PubMed or preprint servers to try to find the full text version of that article. Green open access is something that's growing, where you deposit the submitted or accepted version of the manuscript in a repository, most often without an embargo. Some still have an embargo. That is changing. Sage is very author friendly, where we do not have an embargo for our green open access options. So check those different indexes, repositories, and preprint servers for any green open access articles. And then, of course, paying is often an option, a pay-per-view option. Institutions may reimburse or fund pay-per-view costs. And then to wrap up, just some best practice reminders here. You will always want to use the ethical and legal methods for access. When in doubt, explore open access options and repository uploads, like with that green open access, and leverage your institution and your organization for authentication and remote access. And we also have, if you cannot get access, ask your librarian to subscribe to that journal or a collection of journals. A personal referral really goes a long way. So without further ado, over to you, Sylvia, to carry us forward.
Well, thank you so much. And that was very exciting to see because I see a lot of alignment. So if I had to wrap what I heard from you, Jessica and Katie, I see a lot of, well, make your research more accessible, right? Whether that's in social media, with your elevator pitch, in conferences, you always want to make your research something that other folks can understand and engage with. So this is pretty much what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to show you how you could use Wikipedia to boost your research impact. Next slide, please. So some facts about Wikipedia. I would love to know, but I know it's hard. How many humans do you think are currently writing Wikipedia in 2026? Next slide, please. Spoiler, it's about 300,000 volunteers around the world, and they are all creating a curated bibliography of certain topics because no Wikipedia article can be written without sources. Next slide, please. This is the case of Susan Barnum. She's a public service librarian at El Paso Public Library in Texas. And instead of just creating a bibliography, some patron asked her for what are the things someone should read about Chihuahuita, which is a border neighborhood in El Paso. So it's a very specific topic, right? But instead of just giving those books to her patron, she decided to add those sources to Wikipedia. And even though it's like a super specific topic, Chihuahuita, a border neighborhood in El Paso, because Wikipedia is one of the 10 most viewed pages in the world. Next slide, please. These sources were engaged, about 10,000, 20,000, sorry, viewers have engaged with that bibliography. Next slide, please. And it is not just the people that come to our website that are consuming Wikipedia, but also, as you may know, one of the main sources of ChatGPT is Wikipedia. And so it is the same case for the Google summaries. Next slide, please. But unlike the content in AI, which seems like you cannot influence, you can influence Wikipedia, and then you can influence the outputs that you get from chatbots. So as you may imagine, also I would have loved to ask this question to you all. Like, where do you think writers or, the volunteers that write Wikipedia come from are normally from? And the answer would be, well, normally the global north, that is the US, UK, and so on. But I see in this chat that there were people from Ghana. I heard someone came from Iraq, and I know from the participants list that a lot of you come from India and other places, and your voices are the voices that we want. Your sources, your research is the research that we want. So, Wikipedia can be more diverse. So, next slide, please. How can we do that? How can we integrate your voices, or how could you add those perspectives to Wikipedia? I'm going to show you how you can do this with care. Next slide, please. As you saw in Jessica's first slides, one growing metric are altmetric, and I'm super glad to see that Safe Journals have this as well. And Wikipedia has this one greatest weight in altmetric. So Mentions in X have a weight of 1 and Facebook of 0.25, but if you have a citation in Wikipedia, that has a greater weight. And there's a reason for that. Next slide, please. So, oh no, sorry, before I go there, yes, the reason why Wikipedia has a better weight is because there are a lot of a lot of policies that prevent just any research to be cited in Wikipedia. Editors in Wikipedia are very careful that the research comes from trusted sources, from peer-reviewed journals, and mostly if, there was a question in the chat, can you add preprints? Well, Wikipedia is not a great place to add preprints. Basically, the type of research that stays longer on Wikipedia is things that have been peer reviewed. And now with Wikimedia Enterprise, which is the interface, or rather the service that the Wikimedia Foundation gives to AI companies, so everything that gets scraped is scraped through Wikimedia Enterprise, has a quality scoring model for references so that the AI output will surface the sources that come from trusted journals, for instance, all the ones in Sage. So that means that if you add a journal article that was published in one of these journals, they are more likely to become part of your chat GPT answer or Google summaries. So please, next slide. Now, as it would happen with anything that you publish, Wikipedia takes a lot of care, or the policies of conflict of interest. And next slide, please. And if you only add your research to Wikipedia, that might not be seen as a good thing by reviewers. So it could see as you being just promotional about yourself. So in the same way, next slide, please, that you wouldn't add only self-citations to anything that you're writing, and you can check The Art of Referencing, a great source on how you should be careful with self-citations. In that same way, we expect you not to only add references about your work, but also about the work you know that is relevant for a given subject. Next slide, please. So, how can I do it? Okay, I know I can't be self-citing myself all the time. I know that this will benefit thousands of humans around the globe. How can I do this? Next slide, please. A fun way to start is with this tool called Citation Hunt. So if you go to that address, citationhunt.toolforge.org, you will see this game that can be, it's in many languages. So if you speak Spanish, Hindi, Malayalam, you can just change the interface to whatever language you speak. And what you will get are parts of Wikipedia that require a source. And the interesting thing here, next slide, please, is that it's not just about any article, but you can be very specific on the areas in which you are an expert. So for instance, maybe you write in Sage Journal on environmental health insights, and so you are an expert in waste management. So you can start typing in that little box, waste management, and then you will get a bunch of paragraphs that require sources, that need sources. Next slide, please. So for instance, here, I'm not an expert in waste management, but luckily my uncle is. So I asked him about this particular case, and I was wondering, that there's this page on biogas, and this statement required a citation. Next slide, please. And he provided me with this document, which is all about biogas, and it was written by a very trustworthy institution, GIZ, sorry. And he gave me exactly the thing that I should say about biogas and so on. So next slide, please. Then, next slide. I read the Wikipedia article. I saw the part that required a citation. I rewrote that paragraph so it was factual and it was, referring to the source I just gave you. Next. So I rewrote that paragraph, and the way you add a citation, if you see those quotation marks there, that's where you click and you can say, okay, I'm adding a website, a book, a newspaper, or a journal. And I selected journal because this document has an ISSN, and I added all the information. Next slide, please. And now that paragraph, as you can see, when you add journal, it tells you all the parameters you need to fill, last name, first name, source, blah, blah, blah. But the good news is that if you're citing something like a Sage journal, which has DOIs, next slide, please, you don't need to fill all of that. The only thing you have to do is add an automatic citation. So for instance, there was another document I saw that require a citation, and I use one article from Sage. I only wrote the title, and because it has a DOI, all the metadata was retrieved automatically. So I could say that there's this 2025 study in Ethiopia, and which concluded that agroecology and temperature significantly affects biogas yield, the quality of biogas. Okay, so cool. I've added a citation, and next slide, please. You're always asked to add a little, next slide. Thank you. A summary of what is that you have added. So I said, okay, I added information with a reference, and I did this in a campaign. Actually, it was perfect, this timing, because now the One Lib One Ref campaign is going on, which is a campaign that calls librarians and other specialists, so you, to add sources to Wikipedia. And you can actually win prizes and everything. So it's a pretty cool thing. And you can connect with people worldwide. Now, as Jessica and Katie were saying before, you should try to reach people in other languages. And the cool thing about Wikipedia is that it exists in more than 300 languages, and you don't have to do it yourself. So if you add your information to English Wikipedia or Spanish Wikipedia and if it's a relevant topic, it is very likely that that article will get translated and your references will be taking into those other languages. So for instance, I wrote the Wikipedia article on the writer I wrote my bachelor thesis about, and now that article is in Georgian. So, like the references I added are now in Georgian, and I wouldn't have ever expected that to happen, but it's the magic of this wonderful open community. Next slide, please. So I think with that, I pass it over to you, and I'll be super happy to answer any questions you might have at the end.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. We're going to move into a Q&A in just a moment, but before that, I wanted to flag that we have more upcoming webinars. If you found today's conversation exciting, we've got some coming up. Next week's webinar is specifically for those who are perhaps new to the publishing process, where you'll be able to learn about all the touch points you'll have with publishing staff and what to expect as you move through the process. On the 18th, we have a really exciting webinar in partnership with Sense About Science, talking about research curation and the impact of misinformation and how to get around that. February 25th, in honor of Black History Month in the US, we have a webinar on amplifying voices, specifically focused on strategies for early career Black scholars. So definitely tune in and keep an eye on anything else that you may find of interest. On our Sage Information for Authors Hub, we have a number of resources and guides for you to help move you through the publication process. So do come here first if you've got any questions. And I'll leave this on the screen for a second. We have an author newsletter that goes out once a quarter, and in it will feature information on publishing resources and then also tips and, upcoming events, so upcoming webinars and all of that. If you're interested, please do sign up. We have a very lively Q&A, and I appreciate everybody sending all of your questions and continue to do so. We will get to as many as we can in the last 10 minutes. So the first question I wanted to kick us off with, somebody asked which media platforms are the most effective for promoting articles, and is there any way to provide a ranking of them? I'll first start off to say that I don't think we could provide a ranking of them, but I'll pass over to our experts. Katie, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, definitely. I think I can help answer this one. As Sean says, it'd be really hard to provide a ranking. I think my main feeling is that it's down very much to different subject areas, who you want to talk with. I think we talked before about like look for where that community is. What you want to do is find where there are other people, other academics, other people who aren't academics who are interested in your subject area. And find where they are, where they're talking. So that might be on X, it might be on Blue Sky, it might be on LinkedIn. So it's really hard to kind of provide a ranking, but there's a little bit of work there that needs to be done to just see where people are talking about things that you're interested in. And then become part of that conversation. So we talked about, there's a little bit of promoting your work can definitely help, but you want it to be a two-way conversation as well. So yeah, see where there are already people talking about that kind of thing, I would say.
Yep, great point. I always think maybe the best way to reach your audience is to think about where you yourself find your research. Start there.
Mm.
Think about if that's the best channel. Um, all right, I'm gonna move forward to the next one if I can. Um, so somebody asked, beyond open access, what are the most effective strategies for a researcher to deliberately design and packet their research process and outputs from the onset, um, in order to broaden the reach, the citation count, all of that? So yeah, thinking the very early stages of the publishing process, the research phase, what should you do then to preemptively think about publication and promotion?
I can jump in with some thoughts on this one as well. So I think that it's best to think about what you want to achieve with your article from that research point before you start writing your answer. Think about who your audience is at that point. Think at that point where you want to publish. So think about which journal you're going to be publishing in, who might be reading that journal, whether there is scope beyond kind of academia, thinking about whether there might be policy implications and things like that from your research as well. So right from the start of that, think about who might be reading it and think about how they might want to see it. So if there are policy implications, you might want to think about people that don't have that kind of academic background, and then you might want to think about things that we've talked about, like the plain language summaries and things like that, that just make it so much easier for people outside academia to see your article and to quickly understand it and to know whether it has an impact on things that they're working on. Things about being picked up by the press and things like that. So think about whether this is an article that might have an impact there as well. And you can start thinking about right from the start how you might kind of position that article so that people are picking it up and seeing how it impacts kind of wider issues in the world as well.
Yes, that is extremely helpful. Um, I'm seeing a lot of questions come through about Wikipedia, and I'm wondering if I can kind of summarize it quickly, Sylvia, and pass it over to you. So we're receiving a lot of questions for people who are asking, how do I get started on Wikipedia? How do I create an account? And also, there are frankly questions about the credibility of citing Wikipedia as a source in your own research. I'm wondering if you could kind of talk us through like the user experience on Wikipedia, what you should expect when you are, creating your own account, and then also at the very end when you are trying to cite your own stuff. What is the safest way to do this, and what is best practice overall?
Yeah, I was trying to catch up with all the questions and trying to answer, but thank you for summarizing. So, one, can I cite Wikipedia? Well, it's not recommended, but the great thing about it being a human curated bibliography is that you can read Wikipedia and check the sources and then cite the sources, right? I think that's the best practice. And this is what we encourage. This is why we say, oh, add your research, because this is what people do, right? They will read the Wikipedia article, check the sources, and if you're one of those, they will check your article and then, cite your work. Then about how to create a Wikipedia account, that is the most recommended thing to do. So it's super easy. You just have to go to wikipedia.org in any language that you speak, and you will see on the right corner something that says create account. And it's super, super easy. You just need to have a username. If you want to protect your identity, please invent something like ponytail 2025, whatever you want, and have an email. And that's it. That's everything you need to create a Wikipedia account. There was also one question about how to get started. So there are many Wikimedia chapters around the world. So there's Wikimedia UK, for instance, Wikimedia Mexico. There are many chapters in India, in Ghana. So the best thing is to check your local chapter and see the activities that they're organizing. So they regularly have workshops on how to edit Wikipedia and so on. There are thousands of tutorials on YouTube as well, but I think it's best when you connect with the community because then you can join their Telegram chat or WhatsApp chat and you can ask questions there in case that that you want to know anything else. And I don't know if I am missing one of the questions. There was one very interesting about whether once you edit Wikipedia, other people will add their own information. And yes, that is the case, and that is the wonderful thing about Wikipedia. But what is also very interesting is that you can track those changes. So once you created your account, I don't know if you've noticed that any Wikipedia article has 3 tabs. So those tabs are edit, well, view the source, view the history. But once you create an account, you will see one tab that says that has a little star. And if you click on that star, then you will get to your email any new things that have been added to that Wikipedia article. So you can see which new perspectives are being integrated to that article you contributed to. So I think this is a great thing, even for you, right? Because if you're an expert in a topic and you see, oh, so now people are talking about this controversy or this new thing, it's also enriching for yourself, I think. Yeah. I hope I didn't miss anything.
No, that was very helpful. Thank you. I do see a question here. Someone was asking, is there an easy way to find unanswered questions in Wikipedia or someone that is needing a source? What is the best way to do that?
Oh, that's a great question. And there are many ways of doing that. So there are a lot of initiatives trying to show where are the biggest gaps on Wikipedia. So there's Wiki Women in Red, for instance, and that is a whole association of editors looking at all the biographies of women that are missing on Wikipedia, of relevant women, and you can browse by field. So scientists, artists, journalists, politicians that are missing. So that is one initiative. There is also humani.wiki, which is like a dashboard showing what are the things that might be missing on Wikipedia and so on. But, Citation Hunt, the tool I showcased, is another way. You will see which aspects of knowledge are missing citations, and that's another way of seeing, well, what is missing.
Very helpful. Thank you. Um, Quickly, we've got 1 minute left. I'm going to ask one last question. And then any questions we don't get to, we'll follow up in a blog post. But somebody asked about speaking multiple languages and where are the benefits for this in terms of your promotion. Sylvia, you talked a lot about this with Wikipedia. If you do speak a language, you can write about content in that language. At Sage, we also work with The Conversation. The Conversation has global offices, so maybe if you want to publish a blog article in your local language, that's something you can look at with The Conversation. Um, but opening it to the floor, is there anything else to discuss there? And if not, Katie?
I was going to jump in and say, I think that we all accept that kind of from an academic point of view, the language of academia tends to be English. But I would say that if you do speak another language and you know that you might find a new audience by doing some translation, like we said, even if it's just the abstract or if it's just one of these kind of summaries that we've been talking about, I think if it's possible for you to do it, I think it's always a really good idea. It just helps you get to that extra few people that might not have seen your research otherwise. So yeah.
That's a great point. Yes, a plain language summary, an abstract that summarizes your article in the local language is a great way to reach a new audience. All right, I'm sorry to say the conversation must end. It's been very nice to speak with everybody. It's been very nice for I hope for attendees. So a huge thank you to Jessica, Katie, and Sylvia for leading today's conversation. Thank you to everybody attending live. Note that I will follow up with an email with the slides, a recording, a certificate of attendance. All of that's coming to your way within the next week. Um, Thank you again, and I hope to see you in a future webinar. Bye, everybody.
Bye.